Most people look at me like I'm totally crazy if they find out that I raise worms in my house. Not that that's a topic of conversation that comes up much, but yes, I do raise worms in my home. That probably sounds really, really gross to you right now, but trust me, okay? By the end of this video, you might find yourself a little more interested in worms and raising worms in your house than you'd like to admit. Probably not though, but let's talk about this. To me, worms are one of the most intriguing creatures. I've always had a fascination with them, ever since I was a kid, digging them up out of their nice comfy homes and hooking them and trying to, feed them to these huge, terrifying creatures while they're drowning. But when I got older and found out about a specific worm called the red wiggler, that's when I started to delve more into worms and just learning about them. Red wigglers are weird because they pretty much eat anything. They're like little garbage disposals, or if you're in Canada, garburators. Fruits, vegetables, they even eat paper and cardboard. They're machines, and they're great recyclers. But the cool thing about it, and the kind of nasty thing, I guess, is that when they eat, what comes out the other end, if you know what I'm talking about, it's basically gold. It's what it is. I don't really know how else to describe this stuff. Let me put it this way. It's known to be one of the best fertilizers around. And I love plants. I have a big garden in my backyard. I love gardening. So when I found out about the red wiggler and their, feces of gold, it was hard to resist, honestly. And I'm being dead serious too. So because I'm really into gardening, the idea of being able to use scraps from the kitchen and then get some of the most potent fertilizer around is very, very compelling. But I found out that that's not the only fertilizer that comes from these red wiggler worms. There's more. And I'll warn you, all right, this is where it gets pretty nasty, all right? But pretty incredible. All right, hang on, let me just go get it. No. This is not kitty litter. No, it's not. Inside is what is called worm juice. Which you're not gonna believe this, but I shouldn't even tell you. This is I can barely say it, it's so ridiculous. This is the digestive juices from the worms that I have. I'm dead serious. This thing is filled up. All right, this thing is filled to the top. This is what the worms excrete basically while they're eating. I'm so over this stuff. I'm so used to it. This doesn't even gross me out anymore. This stuff doesn't even smell bad. Again, okay, this stuff is insane fertilizer, but if you seriously, look how filled up this thing is. This is totally insane. If you dumped this onto your plant, not even that much, it would just disintegrate it. It would burn it alive. You have to dilute this in water a lot. Because if you don't, you will not have plants. But that's the cool thing about it, is that it goes a long, long way. I mean, if I've got to dilute this in an insane amount of water, I can spread that out literally everywhere. And that's just because I have a really big garden. So you're not gonna need anything remotely close to that. A little goes a long way. So I guess I should show you the quantity of worms that I have that produces that much juice, right? This is so gross. Just 1 second. All right, so this is my tub of worms. I have 2 of these. Now, okay, this is a pretty big, and there's holes on top so that these guys can breathe. All right, but basically they like it not too wet and not too dry. They really like paper. Newspapers are good. But as you can see here, there are, if I zoom this, they don't like light, which is actually a way to, but here's one right here. There's a few right here on this piece of paper as they're eating it. Yeah, this is the red wiggler. They especially absolutely love cantaloupe. They love watermelon. You can see here they're just eating this up. So put them back down here. But all of this right here basically smells like nothing. These are the worm castings. This is basically their poop, okay? As gross as that is. But this is like crazy fertilizer that will basically change your entire life. So if I want to feed these things, let me show you. We had strawberries, so normally I would just throw these strawberry tops away, but I'm gonna give them to the worms. So, I mean, basically just pick a spot, put them there. We'll set them like right there. They love fruits and vegetables. And then you just kind of cover them up, and then by tomorrow it should be, they should have done a pretty good job eating that. So then we'll just cover it back up, and pretty much good to go. So at the top is basically where you get the worm poop, the worm castings, but there's two containers, one stacked on top of the other, and on the top one there's holes in it. So basically the worm juices flow down into the second container. That's the other magic. I've messed up my shot. I'm gonna go wash my hands. And now look, it might sound gross, but you really don't do that much with them. Like once you have the ecosystem or whatever stabilized, you just put food in there every once in a while and paper, and they're fine. And again, I just have this on a crazy scale, massive tubs. You don't need that. If you're interested in gardening or just, you know, house plants, and you don't want to get those fertilizers like Miracle Grow or, you know, other things that aren't the most natural things in the world, you can do what I did, except just on a much smaller scale. I mean, you can just get a couple of smaller tubs and poke holes in the top for air and in the bottom so that the worm juices flow down, and just put your worms in the top and feed them. The cool thing about them is that they're self-regulating, so they know how big the container is that they're in, and they know not to produce more than will fit in, you know, in the container. So you don't have to worry about them like crawling out and stuff like that. They don't do that. So if you're interested in plants, which you should be, if you're not, why not? You're a human being, get interested in plants, for goodness sake. This is a really good way, Campbell, what the heck, dude? This is a really good way to get some of the best fertilizer around while, you know, using up scraps from the kitchen and, I mean, Amazon boxes that you don't know what to do with, stuff like that. I mean, you can just get them wet a little bit and put them in the container. I mean, these worms eat the stuff that you put in there like incredibly quickly. You're not waiting for a banana peel to decompose in months. You're talking about a matter of like a week or just a little bit more. It's pretty much like instantaneous compost. Anyways, I will leave a link in the description of the place that I got my red wigglers. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I'll put a link in the description. I'll put some other informational links down below just in case by some off chance you're actually interested in doing something like this on a smaller scale or on a bigger scale than I do. You can learn more about it down below. Look, I know you're never gonna look at me the same way again. I can hardly look at myself in the mirror. It's not too late to unsubscribe. I'll see you next week if you're still around. Bye.